All right, go ahead and start your recording. Tell me when you're ready.
I'm ready. Sorry.
All right, I'm going to go 3, 2, 1, then we'll clap. 3, 2, 1, clap. 3, 2, 1. Ready? 3,
Okay.
2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. All right. And oh, you tweeted too. Oh well.
You told me to.
Why does it say episode 57 live? Is our thing wrong? No? Weird.
Is what wrong?
Our For some reason when we posted the link it still says 50 it still says 57.
Oh.
All right. Sorry.
Mhm.
It's my first time streaming the show solo, so streaming the show solo, so all right, let's just go ahead and jump in and start. And do you want me to just start without you?
I'm coming. Sorry.
No problem. All right. Hello and welcome to the Al Recap. This is a show focused on covering the news, matches, and results of the Overwatch League. This is episode 58, and we're glad to have you with us. At the top of the show, I'd like to thank our recap producer, Shazir. And we don't usually do this, but I'd like to thank our recap associates that are Patreons at higher than $1. Drunken Monk, Mateo, and Thrill.
Yay, thank you.
Yay. So we've been gone. We've been gone a while. We have been super busy. Andreas has been super busy with school. We went to BlizzCon. We had Thanksgiving. I got my first job as a video editor and producer. So it's a little small job, but still cool. So we haven't had time to do the show. We tried to do a show before Thanksgiving, but everybody was going out of town and it just wouldn't work out. Do have another announcement at the top of the show here that I want to let everyone know. Andreas, aka I Play Games, is going to be taking a short break from the show. His school ends right at the beginning of February, and that's when the Overwatch League starts back up. So he will be back for that, but right now he's working full time, doing full time school, and trying to do the Omnic Lab podcast, and it's just too much for him at the moment. So he's taking
Basically, he's abandoning us
yeah, he totally
for a
is
short time.
abandoning us.
I'm just saying.
But he's given me a shot at modding for a little while, a little practice, and I appreciate it quite a bit. He will be back though. Do not worry. It's not a long break. It's just a short break so he can uh, dot some I's and cross some T's.
Yeah, don't worry. We made him swear on everything that he would come back. Not leave me here just with Bob.
Oh, we would definitely get another host, but all right. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to the news. The roster requirement of 8 contracted players is is about to come too. Basically, they have until December 1st to have at least 8 players signed to their Overwatch League teams. Do you know if everybody has them all signed, Mel?
No, they don't. Most do, but like the Chengdu Hunters, we've only heard of coaches. We haven't heard any player announcements. The Vancouver and Washington both have given us zilch, so we don't have anything from them. But everybody else has 8 players, so they're all good. They can still sign players after that. They just have to have 8 at that point.
I wonder what the penalty is. I wonder if they get fines or anything. And just
They get
because we
kicked
don't,
out.
they get kicked out. Yep, you're out. Time for
Peace.
the Kansas City and Colorado teams. But I it's possible that the two rosters that haven't signed anybody yet or haven't told anybody, it's possible that they already have people signed and they're under NDAs of some kind for some reason. Maybe
To not talk to Michael? Is that what their
that's
agreement states?
it might
You
be.
cannot say a word to Michael. That's all.
Well,
You can
and
tell anyone else.
I wonder if it's something where everybody's trying to create their full roster like Atlanta did so they could put this cool video out. So if you guys need somebody to make that video for you, give me a call. You can find me at bob@blazzinbob.com.
Oh my gosh. I
Moving
do
on.
think it's a
Oh,
lot I think it's a lot neater when they announce them all at once, to be honest. I don't like the little tweets every day adding like 2 new people. It's just harder for me to keep up with like who they have, what they have, all their players. So
well,
I
and
like the one video announcement.
yeah, it's just a better experience. The video for Atlanta Rain was just awesome. And they even
I
threw
feel
in
like everybody's
comedy.
worried about it being leaked, that they're just like putting it out as soon as they can. So they're the ones that get to announce it, you
It's what
know?
I was just about to say. Like after talking to Uber back when we had him on, he talked about how Hastro put out that AKM was in the final stages of being signed, and Uber thought that maybe that was because someone contacted Hastro and said, "Hey, we know this is happening. We're going to report on it. Do you want to have a comment about it?" And Hastro was like, "Nope, you're not getting that." So I don't know, but
Yeah.
just a reminder: season 2 starts February 14th, 2019, and Andreas will be back sometime before then. Well,
It
ready.
starts on Valentine's Day, which I think is funny.
Oh, that is funny. See, that's
I
why
guess I know what I'll be
that's
doing on Valentine's Day.
that's why we have you on the show, Mel, because I wouldn't
Because
have
I know
noticed
when
that.
Valentine's Day is.
I didn't know
Come
when
on.
Valentine's Day was until I met you.
Well, you're welcome. You get to buy me pretty things.
I do, I do. So moving on. Now remember, we're gonna do a lot of news, and we're gonna do the news in a kind of a quick fire fashion because, well, we just haven't, we just haven't done an episode in 3 weeks, so we're gonna have to
Right.
throw them out.
We wanted to cover them, but you've probably already heard about most of them.
Yeah, so we're just gonna do a quick fire. So we have all of the new teams' names.
Not all.
No, not all. We have 4 of the 6. I'm seeing that now.
Yeah, Washington and Vancouver haven't announced even a name. No name, no players, no coaches, nothing.
Radio silence. So we have the Paris Eternal. What do you think of this name, Mel?
I mean, I feel like I never liked the names, but I don't know. It looks like they have a flamingo.
Yeah,
Is that a flamingo?
I don't know what that is. It's just passing over Thanksgiving. It looks kind of like a turkey to me.
Well, it looks like a flamingo to me, which is kind of funny. I don't like that they went with red, just saying. But other than that, I guess it's fine.
And then we also have the Chengdu Hunters. Now, What do you think of this one?
Okay, well, if the panda bear had like a cute little smirk on his face, I would like it better, but the panda bear looks very angry and tilted,
That's because
but
he's
it's still
Kung
kind of
Fu
cute.
Panda.
Yeah, but he's not as cute as Kung Fu Panda, which is the problem.
You've just never seen Kung Fu Panda angry. I don't know. I think the panda's kind of cool,
It's
and
cute.
I like I like the name Hunters. I think it flows well. So
They're not
that's
red, so we've got that going for us.
oh, how's this one? Okay, so the Changzhou Charge is the other one.
Woo!
Why are you excited about this?
Because they went teal. I love teal. That's what I said I wanted 3 weeks ago, last time we recorded. Somebody needs to go teal.
You obviously like it because all their team announcements you put in teal too in the notes.
I know. I like to be color coordinated. Helps me stay on track.
I'm not a big fan of their logo though. What about you? You are muted.
Oh, sorry. I said it's super original, not. It's not a logo, it's letters. Like literally just letters.
Well, it looks like a G. Is Chengzu a G or a C? Isn't that
Are
weird?
you implying that I put it wrong in the notes?
No, I have no idea. The name's hard enough for me to say, let alone spell. I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not a big fan of this one. The charge. I do like the whole names that aren't animals or aren't things. They're like an action. So a charge. Like on to the next one. The Hangzhou Spark. Like I like those types of names. They're a little less traditional but they're still not silly like the names were before the Overwatch League. Like I mean, all the names I remember before the Overwatch League were just. Is that really a team name?
Listen, I remember it was like ninjas in pajamas or something. I don't know.
Ninjas
That's not what
in
it was, but
uh, pajamas, like movie writers, but it was spelled wrong, and like all kinds of dumb names.
I don't know. It just always made me think of, that stupid show that they used to have on TV that was like bananas in pajamas or something like that? You
You-
remember that?
I don't, but
And they'd like dance around?
yeah, that was probably my brother's time, not my time.
Yeah, you're old. I forgot.
Yeah, I watched Transformers and all that jazz.
Okay, but Hangzhou Spark. Is it Hangzhou? I feel like I just totally Englished
I
that.
think Hangzhou maybe.
Okay. um, okay. Is it just me? I feel like their logo is somebody going like this.
It's someone doing this, I think.
Okay. I was just making sure. I think it's supposed to be a spark. Maybe there's like a double meaning there.
I think they're doing it and their hands sparking while they're doing it. But you haven't even hit
Oh,
the big
that
thing.
cool. I like the pink. I do like the pink, but I wish it was like pink and black, not pink and like this light blue. I don't know. It's too much with the pink and the blue. I feel like if it was like a navy, it'd be really cute, but it's like a light blue and it's too pastel-y for me. I don't know. I like the teal better, to be honest.
Well, as I look at you right now, you're using a pink wind
And
guard on your
black,
mic.
pink and black.
Pink and
Okay.
black would have been a pretty good color set.
It would have been better. Yes, much better.
Well,
But I
so
do. I like it.
yep, those are the names. Those are what we have. Like it or not, they are there. And if you guys hear anything about what the other two names are, let us know. All right,
Please.
we are going to move into a quick fire team announcement, and we're probably not going to discuss much at all unless one of us really wants to. But we're just going to go through. I'm going to let Melissa start with the Changzhou charge.
Okay, so we had the Chengzu Charge. I'm just gonna call them Charge. Okay, we had
Okay,
them.
cool.
They have 10 players announced. They don't have any coaches announced yet, but they have a few from Metabellum from Korean contenders. So their tank, Rio, their support, Chara, their other support, Wanjali, and then their DPS, Happy. Those are all from Metabellum. And then we have a few from LGD Gaming. So we have support Only Wish and their DPS, Eileen. And then we have Hotba from Fusion Season 1 joining the charge. And let's see, KYB from the British Hurricanes and NA Contenders. He was also on the UK World Cup team, which destroyed the USA. Just throw that out there. And then a couple from Toronto Esports. So their support Shu and then their DPS Nero. So all in all, it looks like they kind of combined a couple of the best players from a couple of the different teams. It is interesting though that they have Korean, Chinese, and NA players
And
on their
is
team.
and is Toronto Esports still named Toronto Well, I guess they are because they just decided to leave Overwatch rather than take Toronto out of their name. Because yeah,
Unacceptable.
Tur, the Toronto Overwatch League team bought the entire name Toronto, so no one else can use that, and so Toronto Esports was pretty pissed about that. But
I just
also,
don't understand how you can buy the city name. That's
well, I
just
mean, you
crazy
could
to
buy
me.
a state name. Florida bought all like it was going to be the Miami Mayhem, but they just bought Florida, so that's why it
Yeah.
changed to
Go big or go
Florida
home.
Mayhem. But then, like Texas, like the Fuel and the Outlaws bought the cities. So it's probably more expensive to buy the entire state. I'm just guessing.
I would imagine so.
But when did the country band Metabellum get an Overwatch League contenders team?
The country? Is that what you said?
Yeah, isn't that the Metabellum? Isn't that the ones that
Oh,
sing? It's a
lady.
Lady Anna.
Lady
Okay,
Bellum.
Lady Annabellum. My bad, my bad. Okay, well that's what it sounded like to me. So moving on, the Chengdu Hunters have not released any players that they have picked up, but they did say their head coach Ru Rui. Uh, he was with the Shanghai Dragons for part of season one, but they stated he left because of health concerns. So he's
That's when it all went downhill for Shanghai, though. Like they were really coming out strong, and then, whew,
yep, but he was the coach for the China World Cup team that did pretty well.
yeah, that saved him. They went to the finals.
And then they also announced assistant coach Ray. I'm gonna call him Ray Ray, but
We don't know anything about Ray.
yeah, Ray is Ray. He's Ray. Then we went on to the Hanzu Spark. They added main tank Guksu. I wish they would just pick
Good luck.
easier names. Guxue. He's a Ryan and a Winston player. Used to play for LG Gaming, Chinese
GD.
LGD Gaming, Chinese contenders team. We also got another main tank, No Smite, Ryan and Winston player. Now I find this interesting because they got two main tanks, which was lacking in the first season. But he's from X6 Gaming, Korean contenders. We also have Flex Tank Ria, focuses mainly on Diva. It's from X6 Gaming, Korean contenders. Support IDK. I don't know. He's a
I don't know about
Lucio.
him.
He's a Lucio player. He was from Lucky Futures Zenith, a Chinese contender team. They took first in season one. Also, we have Support Revenge. He's a Zen and Anna player. He was on Team 7, a Korean contenders team. We have Support Bebe. Bebe. BB, or maybe it's BB, actually.
I think
Actually,
it's
yeah,
BB.
if he wanted it to be Bebe, then he should have added A's. So it's BEBE. What up, BB? He is a Zen and anime also. It looks like they're really covering their bases. He was from X6 Gaming, Korean contenders team. We also have DPS Adora. So Tracer and Hanzo focused player. He was from Seven, also Korean contenders. We have DPS Bazzi, Bazzi. He's a Widow Tracer and McCree main, so he is their hit scan, well, one of their hit scan specialists. He was from Seven, also Korean contenders. Then we have DPS Godsby. Oh, this is exciting. This guy's actually really good. He's a McCree, Widow, Genji, and Tracer player. He's from X6 Gaming, Korean contenders. So we're seeing lots of Koreans here with a sprinkle of Chinese. But then we also have Crystal. Now that's Crystal spelled with a K, like the girl's name. Don't ask me. He chose the name. So he plays Genji McCree Tracer. And he was on T1W Esports Club.
So what I think is
T1W Esports
interesting
Club.
here is if you look at the three coaches, they're all from one of them's from X6 Gaming, one of them's from Seven, and one of them's from LG Gaming. And those are basically they took the best players from each of those teams and added them in.
Yep.
And then we have this Crystal guy from T1W Esports Club, who I don't know who he is, but it's really interesting to see that they pulled from the coaches' teams. I mean, that makes sense, but why are you laughing at me?
Oh, I was laughing at Twitch chat. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, the coaches that she speaks of is head coach Mask from X6 Gaming, assistant coach Supreme, cleverly spelled with a 7 in the middle, coach of Team 7. Yeah, clever. And
Clever.
then Yin Dong. Now, Yin Dong has a cool name, and he was LG Gaming's coach. So I think you're onto something with them taking the players they know, but honestly, they'd have to be idiots not to, right? I mean,
Right, but I guess
this
how
team
well is it
probably
going to
hit
work?
those coaches so that they could take the best players from each of those teams. It was
Right.
probably a
It's like a
really,
package deal,
yeah, it was
probably.
a thought out strategy by them. Like, let's get three coaches from three different teams and let them bring who they think they should bring on in. I mean, it's a really smart strategy.
I guess the biggest thing for me, though, is they've got Chinese and Korean players, and they've got a lot of overlap as well. So I'm just curious to see if the Chinese players, which are less, can break in to these Korean players that have played together for a while because you've got the Chinese main tank that plays the same players as the Korean main tank Ghost Fight. And then you've got the Chinese support that, well, I guess nobody else plays Lucio, so he's probably in. And then you've got, like it's just interesting to me that they've got so much overlap and they've put Korean and Chinese players together. I'll be curious to see how they make that work and if they can. And 10 players is a decent amount of players and some people are going to sit on the bench and we'll see how that works.
Yeah, I could be culturally completely off on this next statement, so don't sue me, but I feel like Chinese teams, like I feel like you could not get away with a London Spitfire situation in China. Like I don't know if they would support a team that has nothing but Koreans on it. Whereas I think you could get away with that fine over here, over in Europe, but I feel like the Chinese are very proud, and they want to rep do that whole representation of their home. What am I looking for? What's the word I'm looking for? Their region.
Their country. Yeah. Yeah, I get that. And I do think you're right. I think there's a definite like contention here, especially after the World Cup, right? So China versus South Korea wins. But it's going to be worse if they have Chinese and Korean players on the same team and all the Chinese players are sitting on the bench. You know what I mean? Like they'd rather just have an all Korean team, I think, in that aspect. But
I
let's move
don't.
on before we get
Yeah, I
too
don't. Yeah, I don't know if that would be
racially
worst, but it's not racial. It's what do you call it?
regionally.
No, it's what is it called when it's national? It's not. It's like a nation thing, not a race thing. I don't know. That's just what I think. But why don't you tell us about the Toronto Defiant and the Paris Eternal?
Yeah, so those were the two big announcements. Then we have the Defiant, who added a couple more players. So they are up to their 8 cap. And they added support Roki, who plays Lucio Mercy. He's from X6 Gaming and in season 2 of Korean Contenders. And then he moved to 7 in season 3. And then they picked up Asher, who we know from the Gladiators from season 1. And he's a DPS. He plays Tracer and McCree mainly. We saw him on Tracer. Then we have Paris Eternal, who is up to 10 total players. And they picked up support Gray Yi. It has 2 Ys, which is weird. But he plays Ina and Zen mainly. And he came from GG Esports Academy from NA Contenders. So
All right. And then we have Dallas Fuel added off tank RCK, a diva player for Team Gigante European Contenders. There's also rumors that the USA's favorite player, Zachary, it will be joining the Dallas Fuel, but it's just rumors. The NYXL added DPS Nenny, a tracer and a widow
wait.
player. What?
I was away from my mic, but I would love it if Zachary joined the fuel.
Why?
I just would.
Yeah, well,
That's all.
watching a whole lot of VOD reviews and reviewing the World Cup myself, Sinatra was the weakest link on Team USA. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong.
Salty Sinatra.
Yeah, dude. But so yeah, NYXL added DPS Nenny as a tracer and a widow player. How many tracer and widow players do they need? He
7, I think,
well,
is how many they have.
well, I mean, because they also brought up Flower, who has changed his name back to Flower, and they also have Sabiobi. I just don't get it. But he was on the XL2 and a contenders team.
They also have Pine.
Yeah,
I don't understand.
I don't get it either. It seems
And they have Libero, which I guess he's not a hit scam, but I mean, come on.
yeah,
How many
he's
DPS players do you need? Like, something's got to happen. Like, they've got to get rid of some of these DPS. Like, they've got 10 players, and 5 of them are DPS.
are they just trying to sign him so that other teams won't get him?
Maybe, which isn't a horrible strategy. It's crappy for the league, but it's not a horrible strategy. But it's like these people are too good to be happy sitting on the bench, even if it is for a paycheck. Like, they've got a lot of the best DPS.
Huh. Well, so Vancouver and Washington still no name, no roster, no coaches. They're just blowing in the wind. But I'm gonna turn it over to you, Mel. You were interested in how many players and coaches each team has at the moment. So I'm gonna let you take that.
Yeah, I guess I'm just interested to see if there's any teams that didn't have very many coaches or had a lot of coaches and players and whatnot. So I went through the teams and we've got kind of on the low end of coaches, Atlanta and Gladiators and Seoul. They only have 4 coaches and NYXL. And I didn't count like CEO and like streamers or like whatever, but some of them label their coaches weird, so it could be a little off on their numbers.
Yeah,
And then
there definitely isn't a standard for what the naming scheme for coaches, analysts, and everything is. It reminds me of those credit card machines that you use your debit card on, and you want to run it as credit, but some of them are green, some of them are red, some of them are
that's
yellow.
so annoying.
Can we just have a standard, please? Sorry,
But I
though.
think too but I don't think job responsibilities are standard either. There's like team manager where some team managers do, I'm sure, more than others or do more coaching than others, and some are just there to like do laundry or whatever. I don't know.
Well,
But
that's similar to the NFL. I mean, some head coaches call the offensive plays or call the defensive plays, or and some owners call all the plays, like the Cowboys owner. I mean, so but it's very like that's all open. Like we know exactly what the roles are and what people do in the NFL because it's much more transparent than here. This is
right.
new, and things are still being worked out, and they're still trying to find a good standard. So hopefully that'll change in the future.
Yeah. The teams with the most coaches are going to be Dallas Fuel, who has 9 players and 7 coaches. So I'm pretty sure it's like a one-on-one environment at this point. Like,
Oh
really trying to
wow,
stack it up there.
7 coaches.
Again, it
Although,
could be they have like 6 managers that don't do anything. I don't know.
yeah,
It's Dallas, you know. But yeah, everybody else is between like 5 and 6 pretty much. And then for players, we've got Shock has the most players. They've got 11. And then we've got a couple teams with 10. So Houston and Paris, NYXL, the Spark, and the Charge. They all have 10. And then 9 and 8 for the rest of them. So everybody's hit their 8-player except for Vancouver and Washington. Like we'll reiterate again. But yeah, I just think it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see as the season goes on, as season 2 gets started, how many coaches and how many players each team has and what's working best, right? Because I think we'll start to see changes from other teams based on kind of what's working and how many is a good number and how many is too many, how many people get tilted about not playing, different things like that.
yeah, which I just don't get. It's like, I mean, yeah, it's just yeah, okay. I just don't get it, and that's you're in the big leagues. Like, would you rather be playing a ton in contenders and not have a paycheck? I just don't. I just don't get it.
Well, the problem is that they play a ton in contenders or they don't play at all in Overwatch League, but if you're not playing at all in Overwatch League, then you might as well be playing in contenders because somebody else might pick you up, right? Like at that point, you're sitting on the bench, maybe scrimming with your team, maybe not, and you're maybe getting rusty or salty, and you're just sitting there not getting seen by anyone else.
Well, I mean, but then you could petition your team to make you a two-way player, and then you get the best of both worlds. You get to play in contenders, and you get to see what's going on in the Overwatch League.
I'll
I,
be interested to see how two-way players work out this year
me too. Me too.
because we've seen a few signings of two-way players and I like the idea of it. I just don't know how much it will actually pay off. And it's going to depend on how they treat him. Are they on the team and then sub into contenders, or are they mainly on contenders and sub into Overwatch League? But when they sub into Overwatch League, are they going to pull like a Zachary where they sub into Overwatch League and everybody blames them for everything that happened bad? And is that really fair? Maybe it's going to be worse for them. But if they do it right, I think it could be a great way to get these contenders players a little bit of Overwatch League experience and practicing and scrimming. And it should make it so that you don't have to have your active roster as big
Yeah.
as your roster was last year, right? Because you have
Yeah.
options.
Well, but I don't see like once you've been signed to an Overwatch League team, I still just don't understand any reason you would want to be in contenders and not on the Overwatch League on the bench. Like on the Overwatch, I mean, contenders gets like an average of like 2,000 people watching them on Twitch. The Overwatch League gets an average of 80 to 100, and they're also getting hundreds. Uh, well, uh, well, I guess that was the finals. We don't know next year, but they're getting a ton on actual TV. That's
Yeah.
that's what I don't get. Like either way, your name's going to be out there as so and so didn't play.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't know.
We'll
But
see.
unless you have anything else, I'm going to move us on to the main discussion.
Nope. Go ahead.
All right. So, everyone and their mother has discussed Siegel's The State of Overwatch 20-minute video. He talks about his problems with Overwatch, and this video got a ton of traction.
Can we
Um,
talk about why I think it had a ton of traction first
without,
off?
yeah, I was just about to give my opinion, but
Go ahead.
I will let you go first if you'd like.
No, I was just going to say, I think Siegel's always been a very positive person and a very positive influence on the game and on people. And I think that with him putting out a video, one, he never puts out YouTube videos. It's usually just Twitch streaming. And two, it wasn't a rant. It was, I mean, okay, it was kind of a rant, but
It was more of
it's
a
not something he
plea.
does all the time, right? So people listen when you're not the person that complains about every single thing. I think that's why one of the main reasons why it's gotten so much traction and talked about so much. Nobody ever talks about what XQC finds wrong with the game.
They just talk about what
Just saying.
dumb stuff he just did last week. But I think you're exactly right. It was basically word for word what I was gonna say, and it's probably because we discussed it on our long road trip. But uh, uh, basically, it's the opposite of the boy who cried wolf. Like he never complains. He's always very positive. He's always looking to make the game better. And when he comes out and does this, and also arguably the biggest Overwatch streamer at the moment, and has been the biggest in the past before, and it's just a big deal. And PTR changes hit, after he did this video, and so we're gonna just talk about it a little bit. We're gonna go down. We're gonna go down the line, and we're just gonna start with the first thing that he talks about. He talks about hard counters. He talks about when the game first came out, there wasn't hard counters. There were soft counters. There was play in which you could outsmart your opponent like even though you're countered. So an example of that, McCree could counter Tracer soft, but Tracer could bait out his CC flashbang, and then there was just counterplay. Whereas when Brig came out, if Brig gets the stun on Tracer, they get the kill. And that's what he's talking about with hard counters. Something you don't have counterplay against, even though they're stronger. But I would argue that McCree was never really a soft counter to Tracer at all, because
I don't know
Trace.
that he was saying soft counters. I think he was saying
That's
that
exactly what he said.
Well, maybe he called it that, but I guess what I'm saying is that I think he was getting more at the fact that if you were a better player, you could outmaneuver the mechanics of the other player, right? It's not that if you were on McCree, you had to switch because there was a tracer,
No, no, it's the
right?
opposite.
Or whatever.
If
I'm
they
just
had a
saying, like,
tracer, McCree was the soft counter.
right. So, but you didn't
Tracer used to
have to
counter
switch.
everything.
Yeah, I know. That's why I thought that. But you didn't have to switch, right? And now I think what he's talking about with these hard counters is that if they have a Brigitte, you can't be on Tracer. There's just no point in you being on Tracer. And I think that's the hard counter is just them having a Brigitte standing there giving armor makes Tracer not viable.
Well, it was the one shot kill I believe that he was talking about, and that's gone now. So
The one shot kill with
Brigitte on Tracer. Tracer was the
but see,
only one she could one shot. She could combo one shot kill without Tracer being able to move. Every
but
other
I don't think
character would have
that's
lived a little bit.
yeah, but I don't think that's why Brig counters Tracer. Brig counters Tracer because she gives everybody armor, which makes it so that Tracer can't kill squishies without
Tracer
before
can't.
she has to
Yeah,
recall.
Tracer can't one clip, but that would be the definition of a soft counter. That's just making Tracer less viable. But the hard counter is the part stun, whip, shift. And that's the hard counter. Tracer could be killed instantly, so even the best Tracer in the world couldn't take out probably a Master's Brig.
See, and I disagree with that. I think that it has more to do with the fact that even if Brig is not paying attention to you at all, she's giving everyone else armor, making you very ineffective at your job because by the time you try to one clip somebody, you have to get out, they're healed back up, you go back in. All you're doing is building support ults at that point. You can't get away from it. You don't even have to be going after Brig to get countered. Brig there is countering you in general.
And
And that's, I think, what the difference is between that and like Pharah Soldier, right? Soldier yes, can take out Farah, but Farah has ways to get around soldiers. Farah can line of sight soldier. Farah can do different things, but the tracer can't get away from the brig.
well, can't you're saying can't get away from the armor. But the
Yeah, that the
armor,
brig offers.
yeah, I mean the armor. That's only if you have a brig that isn't up at the front line. She's back giving armor to the squishies who Tracer's going after the supports.
Well, yeah, I mean, if they have a tracer, that's what the brig should be popping her armor back there. I mean, it's got a pretty long little thing. Come on now.
All right, so then next he talks about stats in game and stats in game.
Wait, I still have something to say about the
Oh,
hard
all right,
counters, though.
go right ahead.
I was just saying, like, he talked about the fact that dive meta was the meta for a year and a half, right? And now he spends basically more time looking at hero comp and less time looking at gameplay. So he's looking to see if they've got these players that they need to counter the other players a lot more often than they are coming up with strategies on how do we get from point A to point B? How do we take this point? You know, there's a lot of time kind of wasted in his opinion. And I kind of agree. And initially I liked the idea of this whole like counter picks and the diversity of what we would see. And then everybody just went goats. So, you know, but I
And
think
we will get to goats, but not yet.
yes, we will. But I think the biggest thing is that there's certain players that can't be played when other players are playing. And it's requiring people to expand their hero pool or to go players that they're not as confident or good on,
And
right?
he's
So,
and he's specifically talking about the ranked ladder, not the Overwatch League. He's talking about the ranked ladder.
Solo queue ladder.
Yeah, he's talking about solo, duo queue ladder. He's talking about if he has a Tracer on his team and they have a Brig and Tracer keeps dying, he's just looking at the Brig and going, okay, well, you're just making me mad. This is not okay at all. Like, and it's adding to tilt across the board for everybody. You know,
Yeah.
he says you have really good games or you have really bad games, and I think that's kind of the way it's been for a long time. But that's his opinion: is that you either have really good games or really bad games.
Well, and he even stated like some of his opinions, he's kind of been in the pro bubble, and so he's been playing more ranked now. And I think he got a little burnt out in the pro bubble too. So coming back to solo queuing and streaming all the time, I think he admits and he realizes he's a little bit more tilted than usual, right? It doesn't have the newness of the game that it did when he first started. And he's more knowledgeable about a lot of things now too. And so things are frustrating and things are tilting. But yeah, I mean, I think it can lead to toxicity. It can lead to a lot of why can't you play this hero? Or fine, we don't have a Sombra, let's just give up. We're gonna lose anyways, right? Less creativity is happening. There's less strategy happening. There's less like, let's figure out how to do this. It's more just like, well, I might as well just wait till the next game because I don't have the hero pick I need. And some of that I think is legit, but some of it I think is people just being bullheaded.
Yeah, well, I would say that the hard counters lead to more strategy if people play the game right, but he's also playing the game at a GM top 500 level. And I'll tell you, like in Masters, I play Rhine. That's it. Like I play Rhine. I might switch to Monkey just for a second or Orisa because she's really powerful at on a certain point. But most of the time, I'm going to be Ryan because that's the only character I can play at that high of a level. Like you put me on Diva Zarya. That's a throw. I mean, even if I am hard countered, it's better to have me on something I can perform at that level. So, him being upset about like he's playing at a way different elo than everybody else because I can play tons of characters in platinum, but masters it's Ryan. But he also talks about stats in the game, and stats is something I've been talking about. Or, when I was on Watchpoint Radio, I talked about it forever. Like we need stats that make sense. And what's funny is in the follow up video that Jane, Siegel, and Shorefor did with a short show up by XQC in the last half an hour of the hour and 45-minute stream. Like Surefor talks about, and Surefor's my man. This guy is a smart dude. Like he really thinks, and he talks about let's have stats that matter. Like let's not have damage stats. Let's not have like elimination stats because the elimination stat is stupid. Winston like Winston should have gold because he touches everybody. This is why the lower end Moiras think they're so awesome is because they have all these eliminations, but they did 5 damage of the 200 that this character had, and it's a dumb stat.
Listen, when I have gold limbs as mercy though, it's real bad.
Yeah, limbs should be killing blows, nothing more. I've said that since the start of the game. There's no
I
reason.
agree, but that's still not going to tell you what you need to know.
Eliminations are called assists. They're not called eliminations. They're called assists.
I guess what I'm saying though is it's not going to tell you what you need to know. The problem is that stats can't completely effectively tell you everything about the game, right? They cannot tell you if somebody was positioned correctly. They cannot tell you if somebody was not just shooting into the choke. They can't They can't tell you things like that. And I
No, the
think that
current stance can't, but the stats I'm asking for could tell you a lot of good information, like of damage blocked, how much would have hit your team. Like, say I'm playing Ryan. Say I have damage blocked, and then I have damage blocked from teammates as a separate stat, and like that would be something that they could definitely program. Like it knows this projectile would have hit them without my barrier in front. So that would make sense.
but then you get into things like if your barrier wasn't in front, they probably wouldn't be standing there.
Yeah, but
And were
it's
they doing something effective by standing there, or were you just holding up your shield for somebody to like
so
gawk around?
what
You
I'm
know what I
taking
mean?
from this is you disagree with Siegel on this point, because I think Siegel and is right. We need more stats, and I think Surefour is right on the button with we need stats that matter.
I agree that better stats would help. I think no matter what stats you get, there's going to be arguments for their legitimacy, right? My whole thing is that I don't think stats, and I think this is what Siegel was arguing, stats in the game that you could see across your teammates, I don't think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I don't think that's what's. I think Siegel was just talking about wanting to know. I mean, after just wanting
He
to
wasn't,
know.
though. He's sitting there, like, talking about the fact that at least the way that I saw it was he's sitting there talking about if somebody picks an off meta hero, you're not even sure if they're doing anything or if they're doing their job correctly, but you're probably going to blame them anyways because it's an off meta hero, right?
Yeah,
And so seeing stats in that instance, I still don't think would be effective. I think it would give you more ammo to blame that person, whether or not their stats are good.
it would give you more accurate ammo to blame that person.
Maybe though, like maybe you don't understand what this off meta hero is supposed to be doing because you don't play that off meta hero. Like, yes, in GM and top 500 and Masters, I think, yeah, maybe it'd be maybe okay. But anything other than that, I mean, you're getting people that aren't as educated about the game a lot of times, and you're getting a lot of people ranting off different things. And I think it would hurt the
And
game
then,
and add more toxicity than it would help.
yeah, you might be right. You might be right. Well, the next thing he talked about was new heroes. He says, Ada came out and everybody thought that we were going to get these new skill based heroes for everything. But then the rest of the heroes came out after that, and they were very MOBA intensive, like less traditional FPS skills required to use more, Doom's like straight out of a fighting game, and then uh, Hammond is I don't know what Hammond is like Monkey Ball, but in Overwatch, and it just talks about all these different uh, heroes that came in that weren't completely. Um, and I'm not going to say skill based because that's not what it is. Like skill, knowing positioning and everything that could all be counted as skill, not as Twitch FPS skill based. And he talks about how they all have like some form of CC, and we have experienced CC creep. And I think he's right about that. And we have experienced some major CC creep. Like, I mean, it's like my favorite character Reaper is completely unplayable now because of the CC. Because if he gets stunned, his death blossom's worth nothing. I think that's another thing that needs
It's
to
been completely
change.
unplayable since you got out of gold, let's be honest.
That is probably true.
But I think that the CC has increased, but they've also had to get fairly creative with characters, right? So they can't just put out another hit scan player. That's just not effective. And I think I don't think the CC okay, it's a little overwhelming sometimes, but I think they're doing a good job of balancing it out, ideally, and giving us a little bit of the CC and the FPS and the MMO or whatever type of game you're looking at, but it makes it more available to more people, I think is the biggest thing, is that more people can now play the game because they can be good at a hero that maybe doesn't require as much mechanical aiming skill.
Yes, easy characters, and that's another thing my boy sure for, man.
They're not necessarily easy characters, though. They're a different type of skill.
Yes. Okay, when I say easy, I'm talking about
Well, you
Twitch
shouldn't say
skill.
easy.
All right, mechanically easy. Uh, so another thing Surefour talked about in that follow-up video is you need mechanically easy uh, tunes to play to make the game more accessible. And you used to have Symmetra, who was fairly easy, and they changed her and made her pretty hard.
So much is
And
hard.
it's pretty hard to effectively. I would say.
Well, they just changed her, so she charges her thing faster now. So,
I think that was probably necessary because the left click was barely ever used unless you were in a death ball team fight and you were getting pocketed. Like we've seen tons of videos of Siegel killing it with it, but most of the time that's not the case. So we also he talks about like CC in the game uh, after the new heroes thing, but he's basically just talking about that. I think the brig change was really good. The most recent one where it doesn't go through barriers. Be,
ugh.
yeah, well, I mean,
I
it's
agree. I
just
think it's a good change.
yeah. I mean, honestly, nothing should go through barriers, or you know,
What's
uh,
the point of your barrier?
yeah. I mean, it just would set up easy shatters and everything else. I mean, it was a little too good. She'll still be a deterrent for Tracer in the back. So I do think that the the Overwatch team is listening and trying to make changes. But
Right. I think one of the other things he talked about with CC was the fact that all the new CC that's kind of been added into the game with the new characters is looking at a lot of that. I can't save myself no matter what I do. I need my team to help me. And the frustration with that in a solo queue environment, right? And I think that that's the difference between the Overwatch League and a solo queue environment, right? Because those teams play together all the time and they understand, okay, so and so went up there, we need to go save him, or, I need to Zarya bubble him, or whatever it might be. They know how to work together as a team. And you just can't expect that from six people that get put together for one game, right?
well, and it is an extreme team based game. I mean, a 6v5, no matter what elo you're in, usually means you're going to lose that team fight. And I mean, it's crazy how little you can carry without being at least, two SRs higher, like two ranks higher. Like definitely a diamond player can go down in gold and they can, one v four people and they can do all kinds of crazy stuff. But
I can't do that.
well,
Sad.
you can though. I mean, you can carry as heals because down at that elo, healing is a secondary to most supports, like what they're trying to do. Most supports in gold that I've ever seen are trying to DPS. They're trying to be the star of the team getting frags, and that's just not it's just not the it's just not the way to do it. So yes, you could carry in gold because you're just keeping everybody up and they're eventually killing something.
Right.
Oh, so then he talks about dive and goats. He talks about how dive was prominent for a long time and that wasn't good. He talks about how goats is prominent now and that's not great either.
But he
Uh,
talked about the difference between the two was that dive was prominent for a long time, but it was mainly prominent in the higher ranks because it required a lot of coordination and it required a lot of mechanical skill.
and
Goats
he says
is
that
prominent across all ranks.
And he says that being a little ignorant, like he doesn't understand that dive was played all through the ranks, and people just
But it
didn't
wasn't
know
played
what. Oh
correctly.
God, no, God, no! But they were still doing it, and then it was even worse. It
Yeah.
was like I called the comp, anything under diamond, I call dive comp chaos comp because it's just a whole bunch of mobile characters running in and 1v1ing all in separate corners.
Right. There's not a lot of organized diving.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
more like everybody dive their own person and we'll be good.
but he also talks about how with dive, if you didn't have a good tracer, it was worthless, and that was true, and that sucked. Like tracer, he
Houston.
also
Houston.
he also talks about in the follow up how tracer is really just been the problem. One of the biggest problems with Overwatch since the start, and I think that's true too. She's too good, and I mean, how do you nerf her? She's just like way too good. She
You
can,
at Brig.
yeah, but I mean that's not a nerf. That's just a kill. You know what I mean? And then you take Brig out, and then all of a sudden Tracer comes back, and the game is dominated once again by one character.
Well, and I think that leads a little bit to like what he was talking about with ultimates and the fact that they're overpowered because the fact that if one team switches to a different character, say a tracer, and you don't have a Brig, right? Then somebody on your team needs to switch to Brig, no matter where their ult is, right? You're already behind an ult economy at that point because you've got somebody that switched after this other person, right? And the fact that there's these hard counters that force these switches, they can force them at times where now you're just never going to win a fight because the other team is getting all of the ultimate charge and you're not, right? And again, you could probably argue that you should be smarter and switch earlier, but I don't like the fact that it's resetting all of your ults, and ults are such a powerful game changer in the game that resetting them is just
Yeah.
not not a
Okay,
good thing.
we'll get to that in just a second, though. But on the goats thing, what I think would fix goats is what the community's been asking for a long time. A lot of famous YouTubers, streamers.
Don't make me talk about roll queue.
Yeah, they're asking for roll queue. And roll queue, everybody says it would make it stale, yada, yada, yada. But one thing it would do is kill goats because you can't have three tanks and three support. So, what you and I talked about earlier is why don't we do something in the middle? Why don't we do a roll? Okay, so let me start by saying you shouldn't be able to play any character you want or uh, any composition you want. That's just my opinion because my favorite sport is the NFL. And in the NFL, you have to have five down linemen on offense. You can't change them out. They can't receive a pass. They can't you have to have them. Then you could change up your comps uh, by having three wideouts, two tight ends, three wideouts, one tight end, one running back, two running backs, two wideouts, one tight end. That is cool. It still has a way. You still have a way to change comps. So what we thought would be a good idea was why don't we make it so there is one tank slot, one DPS slot, one support slot then 3 flex spots. So every team is required to have at least 1 tank, 1 support, and 1 DPS. That gives you room to change up your comps, throughout, but it doesn't just completely lock you into 222 and make it so you can't do anything crazy. You can still do some crazy stuff, but that would kill goats.
Yeah, but then you just get goats comp like we do in our podcaster team when Thrill's on our team. It's like, let's go goats.
Yeah, and it doesn't work
But why
as
do we
good
have
as goats.
Poco?
Yeah,
Guys,
goats is one thing. It's Zarya,
just kidding, Thrill.
R-
I love you.
it's Zarya, Ryan, Diva, Lucio, Mora, Orianna, and Zen. I mean, that's what goats is. Goats isn't there's like moats and all the different variations of
They've all
goats,
now
but
just been combined into one.
that's
Three
not
tank, three heal is now just considered goats, though.
that is no, that is not true. That is not true at that might be considered in the uneducated lower SRs, but that's not the way it's considered. Like there's people that think they can run goats without oh dude, sorry. Not Zen, Brig. I'm crazy.
Fail.
Yeah, like there's people that think that they're running goats when they have no Brig. It's just not goats. Like goats doesn't work without Brig. So
Yeah.
so then there's been the whole pro pugs or semi pro pugs because pro pugs aren't allowed to be streamed. So Jane's been holding large streamer and semi pro pugs that are experimenting with hero bans, where they'll ban heroes. And what's funny is the hero that gets banned the most is not Brig. You know who do you know who it is?
Who?
Diva, the most picked character in the entirety of Overwatch Season 1.
Somebody kill Cool Matt, please.
Kill Combat, please! Kill Combat, please! But that's something that they're looking into. Like, how do you think a role queue would work? I think you would have to have 2 bans, and if a team bans Tracer, they can't use Tracer either. And then the other team bans, and they can't use who they ban also. I think that's the only way it works, because if you have a team ban Tracer, then the other team would have to ban Tracer too, because if they banned Brig, then you just have Brig Tracer on the other team. You know what I mean? Like, I think they would have to cut out both characters. What do you think?
I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of banning characters. I don't feel like that's going to help anything or fix anything in the meta or in the Overwatch League. I think it's just going to become just as stale where everybody bans the exact same characters every week and everybody knows that, right? And then we get like one crazy week where somebody bans a crazy character, right? And it didn't really work. But I think that that's not where we need to go with it. I think that map banning might be more effective.
Ooh. I think map banning is something that just should not come. But
I'd rather have map banning than hero banning.
see, but the only reason I would semi agree, I don't want hero bans either, but something that does happen in other games is the developers have plenty of data with all of the bans on who the community thinks is too powerful basically. So it gives them a lot of information about what they need to do going forward. And then
Can we talk about how we think that the meta has not evolved as much because the Overwatch League is not on? Any thoughts on that?
I don't know. I think the meta currently is like all over the place, but
It
we
is, but do you think that's because the Overwatch League is not on showing you
we could,
every week?
I would agree with you, but we could talk about that on a later episode. We're going to hit the last thing that Siegel talked about because we're running a little long.
Yes.
Siegel talked about ultimates being too powerful. Now, ultimates are the game, and ult economy is the game. And he's talking about how if you guys lose a team fight, then most likely you're going to be low on the ult economy at the end. And it just doesn't feel good. That's how teams snowball. He talks about Overwatch League Season 1. If a team on Koth, King of the Hill, won the first fight, they had a 64% chance to win all of them, to win the entire map. So that just tells you that once you get on the top of ult economy, you're on top. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, I think there's a strategy to it in some aspects. Like, I do feel like ult economy has a strategy, but like I said earlier, ult economy's strategy has gone to crap because of the required changes that you have to make. So, in my opinion, ult economy is very important, but if I have to switch off of Zen to go on Brig because there's a tracer, then I don't have my Zen ults all of a sudden, and there's nothing I can do about that, right? Like, so I think that yes, it plays more mind games. I don't like the fact that ults are as powerful as they are, mainly support ults, though, to be honest. But I guess support ults are only as powerful because they defend against DPS ults and tank ults. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I guess they're all just as powerful. But basically, if you don't have a support ult, you're doomed.
Yes. Well, I think a real good change, because another thing Surefour, just hitting his name, talked about is don't tell me what's wrong. Give me
This is not a Surefour
solutions.
podcast, just so you guys know. I
Well,
know it sounds like it.
Surefour, if you would like to come on, because you said you love doing these things, if you'd like to come on, you just
You
let
can
me
take
know.
Andres' spot while he has abandoned us.
Yeah, we interviewed Surefour stage 1 of season 1, and he was a great interview. I mean, the guy's just awesome. But he talks about give me possible solutions and not just problems. So my possible solution is we can see our team's alt. We can see who has them. We can see how charged up they are. I say let the other team see what the other team's ults are. It would give more strategy. And, you know, pro players will say, well, that's part of it, ult economy. But the way the game started out is you always had a Lucio. And Lucio's job in the pro setting, I'm not talking about DSP stanky, that is hard, but Lucio's job before the rework in the pro setting was easy. It was super easy. And so
Stay
he
alive.
was no, well, it was using your speed to get in at the right times and stuff like that. But they had time to think about and keep track of ults in their heads, and so they would keep track of the ult economy and let the rest of the team know. Well, with everything changing so fast and supports having to switch off so much and not just play one character, I mean, everybody who plays the game knows how hard it is to just mid game switch to another character, switch your entire mindset, your entire positioning set, everything. It's hard. So doing that and keeping track of ult economy and who's changed characters and everything else, I just don't think is possible with the game it is now. So I say show everybody ults, will know what they have, will prepare for it better, and it'll make the game in turn better.
I mean, I guess you can see the enemy ults every time one of you dies. You see the enemy ults.
What?
Like,
No, you don't.
if you watch the replay of your death,
You see that one character's ult.
that's what I'm saying. But, like,
But
don't
wait,
tell me that one character is killing everybody.
that's
Like, if you guys get
those are
team
turned
wipes,
off though in pro play.
yes, they are. I think. I would
Yeah.
imagine.
No, they are. I mean, even in when we used to do the Minutemen, uh, challenge for what was that? Not Wawas, but it was.
Yeah, no, I remember.
Oh my
But I
gosh!
guess
But like
what
you
I'm
had to turn those
the cow
death.
league,
Uh, you had to
the cow
turn.
league.
Oh yeah, the competitive Overwatch League cow. Like when you would set up the room, you would have to turn that off. You could not have kill cam enabled. And in pro scrims, it's the same way too, because they don't want you to have that extra information.
Right, but I don't think pros have an issue with tracking ults. I think they've got a pretty set, like,
Oh no, they
team
do.
way to track ults. I don't think so. I
No,
feel like
Sureford,
okay.
Jade, and Siegel talked about it in the follow-up video that we listened to. They have trouble with it, and they forget, and it's something that they don't pay attention to as much. And DPS players never did it. You know what I mean? Like DPS players for the most part in pro are silent, but
Yeah. I
unless
guess
you.
his biggest complaint about ults being so powerful was he was talking more about the solo queue environment, and he was just saying that again, it's adding to the frustration and the feeling of helplessness because your solo queue environment is not communicating as effectively as you would on a team. And you waste three ults in a push, and then you know you're dead the next push because you know the other team has a couple, right? So like that was Siegel's argument was that ult management in pro play is fine, but ult management in solo queue on ladder is crap.
Yeah, well, we've all had those games where five of us are running back from spawn, and we hear Zarya use her graviton surge way ahead of us,
It's like
and then see
I
her
got them all, and you're
dead.
like, yeah, nobody's there.
Yep,
Nice
no,
job.
no follow up, bro. But
Oh yeah.
I do think that would help quite a bit. It helped quite a bit when they added it to your team so that you can see your team's ults. I don't ever have to ask Zarya how close she is to ult now or how close Hanzo is. I just say, Hanzo, we're gonna wombo combo here in a second because I can see what he has, and that's great. I think it would be fine to have that for the other team too. Uh,
Yeah.
but if you don't have anything else to add, I am going to go ahead and close out the show.
Nope, I'm good.
I thought you were going to say Dallas Fuel rules, Houston Outlaws suck. All right, so thank you
Nope.
everyone for attending the show. uh, if you would like to reach us on Twitter, you can reach us at OWL Recap. On Twitch, we try to stream Monday nights at
9 Eastern.
9 p.m. Eastern. And we try to go live. You can find us there at twitch.tv/alrecap. If you want to find us in Discord, you can find us squatting in the Omnic Lab Discord. That is discord.me/OmnicLab. If you want to tell us anything, you can just reach us at.
Did you forget?
I'll edit this out before it goes out. If you want to talk to us, email us at. I'm trying to not say at. Like, send an
Oh.
email to contact@alrecap.com. It just always drives me nuts when people say, send us an email at blah, blah, blah @.com. You know what I mean? It's
Oh
weird.
geez.
Um, Also, iTunes reviews. We haven't had one in a while. The whole Overwatch podcast community has had a drought on iTunes reviews. Maybe Spotify will start doing reviews soon, but for right now, we need those iTunes reviews. Please give us them. We will read them on air. And Mel, why don't you tell them where they can find you?
You can find me on Twitter at MelOverwatch, or you can find me in the Cavalry to hear about all sorts of fun Overwatch stuff.
And if you want to find me, you can find me on Twitter at BlazzinBob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. Thank you guys for joining us, and we'll probably have a couple more episodes where we're just talking about the game and not about the Overwatch League. We try to focus on the Overwatch League, but the Overwatch League isn't going on right now. And we're not going to do an hour-long episode talking about who they added that nobody knows. So,
Some people know them, just not us. But Seagull is like now like a kind of part of Overwatch League, still kind of ish.
ish.
You know,
Yeah, I would argue
we're
that
stretching a little bit, okay?
most people don't know about contenders and all that because they barely get any viewership.
And if you guys are watching this on Twitch, will you please tell Bob to move our names into the correct spots on the Twitch stream?
Oh, I forgot to do that again. Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
All
That's
right.
all.
Well,
Thanks. Gotta go.
thank you guys for coming and listening to the Owl recap.
Bye.
All right. Should we raid somebody? It's Totem. It's Totem streaming at the
No, they
moment.
do it yesterday. Oh, streaming? I don't know. But I gotta go. I gotta go record Cavalry.
All right. Do you see anybody on? We could raid real quick. Well, if you guys were streaming, we could raid you guys. All right.
But we're not.
We're just gonna raid. Okay, it's Rush. Gabe, if you're in chat, sorry, man. I was really trying to wrap it up, but just ending it wouldn't have been good.
Don't forgive him.
All right, guys. Tell Rush we said hi and thank you very much.
Bye bye.